Wayfarers of the South Tigris is set during the height of the Abbasid Caliphate, circa 820 AD. As brave explorers, cartographers, and astronomers, players set off from Baghdad to map the surrounding land, waterways, and heavens above. Players must carefully manage their caravan of workers and equipment while reporting back regularly to journal their findings at the House of Wisdom. Will you succeed in impressing the Caliph, or lose your way and succumb to the wilderness? Today on the board, boys.
Wayfarers of the South Tigris.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Board Boys podcast, Season 18, Episode 9. Tonight on the docket, Wayfarers of the South Tigris from Garphill and Renegade Games and Shem Phillips. This is your board boy, North Star Rob.
This is your boy, the art's all the same, TK.
I don't know how applicable the North Star would be in the South Tigris for what it's worth.
You can still see the North Star, right?
It's always north.
It's always north.
Yeah. This is your boy, Caliph Jake.
Perfect. So, Jake's been super busy, and we wanted to play a game that he was familiar with, and he loves the...
Spoilers. Also, I don't know if...
He loves them.
I really like, the Anarchy and Hadrian's Wall are two of my absolute favorites.
That's true.
I haven't always had as much love for the Of Those, but this one I liked more.
For reference, which of the Of Those is this of the South Tigris series?
This is the first of the third trilogy.
Right, but this is the third of the Tigris ones.
This is the first of the Tigris ones.
Oh, the first of the Tigris
and then Scholars of the South Tigris is next, and then Inventors of the South Tigris follows.
So this one, I guess I haven't looked at the stats yet. This one is a few years old.
This one's 22, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been around for a little bit.
There we go.
And the other games, the Anarchy and Hadrian's Wall, are
different
design.
They are different. They're Bobby Hill.
And like
the guy
definitely
from King
like
Hill.
Completely, King of the Hill.
Yeah.
They definitely have a different vibe than everything else.
Yeah.
Like of all the of those. Like you literally have the same. They just print sheets. They probably just have like extra sheets of the coins and the provision tokens laying around somewhere. Because I think, aren't those the same in like every single one of their games?
And I'm pretty sure they're basically the same as, I don't know the provisions, but the coins are like the generic. You type in, generic Mediterranean coin on, and you just get those, right? So
yeah, love it.
Do they have any other designers? Is it just these guys and
Well, I think
Bobby
it's
Hill?
their company.
Right.
Like it's Shem's company.
I know there are games that are the two of Shem and S.J. McDonald, and then there are games where it's just one of them and not the other. Because I think Secret Societies that came out recently is McDonald, not Shem Phillips.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
I really like Secret Societies. It was pretty cool.
I have it, but I've not played it yet. That's my life now. I'm a board game collector instead of a board game player.
It's secret, though, so just be careful.
It's a secret.
Yeah.
Before we start talking about board games, I do want to talk about The Floor because it's back for a new season. We've talked about it before. I would just like to tell you the new twist for this season is if you have won the most duels by halfway through the thing, your zone gets locked. So no one can challenge you until everyone has been challenged. So what happens in this game a lot is like people get a big thing because whoever has the biggest territory gets 20 grand at the end of every episode. Well, people just like hammer after that. And like, once you get so big, the randomizer will randomize next to you more often than not. Although it always randomizes to someone that hasn't played yet until they've gotten to everyone that played. So they're trying to push people to like stay up there and win more duels. And like, so they're trying to make people that win more duels have a better shot at making it to the end, basically.
Good, because I've never seen it before. So when you have a big area and you get challenged and you lose, the other person
take your area.
So
imagine a 10 by 10 grid, and we're standing next to each other, and I beat you. My grid is now a 1 by 2, and then if someone challenges you next to that, then your area just grows in this 10 by 10 grid, and so eventually, like, you're surrounded by like 20 people.
Right. And since you have a big area, those people are probably more likely to be picked because they're always going to be next to you no matter
Correct. What. Yep. So that's the new thing this time. So they have 3 different things. If you win 3 duels in a row, you can category swap with somebody. Like if you've won somebody else's category and you didn't want it and you wanted somebody else's. And there's also like, you can get like a 5-second time bonus, which is the thing they had. That's the thing they started the show with. Then they added the swap, and now they've added the freeze. So they're kind of gamifying it some more. But the swap might be and the freeze hasn't happened yet, but the swap might be my favorite thing because when I just watched an episode where someone swapped with somebody and gave them their category and then beat them and then took their giant territory. So like the dude's category was like Barbie and her category was like sporting halftime. It was halftime shows or something. And so she gave him halftime shows and crushed him and then took Barbie from him, which she also was pretty good at.
Weird.
So like that's like an interesting strategy. Like you could just give someone your category and then beat them and then you have their category and if you think you're good with that as well.
Because you get to pick your category out of the gate, right?
I think so. Like I don't know how they do that. I don't know if you show up and you're like, can I get board games? Because every season there's been like a board game one. Mm. And they get to about Catan Ticket to Ride, and that's about it. If I was on that show, I'd be like, strategy Euro game that no one will know. But like some people pick like math or like there's some insane. It's really fun watching just like the ones that are like bing, 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 like they go back and forth, like just naming the thing. I feel like I would be pretty good at it, but I also feel like I could get up there and just lock up. Like under the pressure.
Because they ask you a question and you have to answer it?
They pop up a picture on the screen.
Oh, and you say what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the first one to say it?
No, you go back and forth.
Oh, okay.
And then if you pass, like if you get something, you can pass, but you get like a 3-second penalty. Like it doesn't show you the next thing right away. You say pass and like it blanks out for like 3 seconds.
So it's the number you can name in the amount of time.
So you both start with like a 40-second clock. And while you're on the clock, your clock's going down. So as long as you keep, like sometimes the people beat themselves. Like there was one I watched in this last episode where this person answered one thing right and the other person just fumbled everything and like they just couldn't get, they skipped a bunch of stuff and didn't know anything and then they were done. But like some of them are like household items or something dumb like that. And they're just like shoe, rock, couch, chair, like. But you still got to be like fast.
Yeah. The rocks are mostly just your household.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's fun to play. It's a really fun show to play along because like you can just sit there on the couch and be like yelling at the TV like because I know what that is.
Yeah. Rocks.
What do you stream it on?
It's on a network like one of the networks. So you could get it on your bunny ears or however you stream.
I don't think bunny ears are a thing anymore.
Oh yeah.
No, I thought they got rid of those when they switched away from. I thought bunny ears are irrelevant now.
No, you can still get digital signals with them. I think because they have those channels that are like 8.1 and 8.2 and.
Are you saying physically the two antennas and the circle?
I'm just talking like over the air.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm specifically referring to the two antennae that you move.
Oh, well, yeah, that might not be a thing, but you could definitely buy an antenna still.
I have one. That's why I watch TV.
Yeah. So yeah, it's on. I can't remember. It's on Fox or CBS or NBC or it's on one of those. I don't know. I have it set to record, and then it shows up. But yeah, if you like game shows at all, it's fantastic. And Rob Lowe's hilarious. They'll just shoot to Rob Lowe when somebody's answering a question, and he just like looks at the camera like.
That was great podcast material.
I know. And there was one category where it was like Brat Pack, and like they didn't know like the thing Rob Lowe was in, and so he gave him crap. And anyway.
Nice. Oh, Rob Lowe.
I will continue to plug that show. They keep evolving it and like adding new twists to it.
One of my favorite things to do with game shows is to look at the celebrity host and evaluate how much they hate their life for that being what their job is. Is the Rob Lowe's I Hate My Life high or low in that?
Oh, low.
Okay.
I think he loves it.
Low,
yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah, he just kind of gets up there and like he does his little shtick and.
Like, I'm thinking of, I don't even know what the game show is, but it's the one that Leah Remini is the host of. It's like people, crossword puzzles.
Uh-huh.
And she very much just looks like she hates her life while she's doing it. So,
yeah. No, I think he likes it. And like his shows, I mean, it's a good show. So he's on like a prime time, not one that's on, Leah Remini's show is probably on, it's just like Wheel of Fortune, right? It's on every day for like the whole year.
Probably. Yeah.
So like that's her slog. And like, they probably shoot this show in like 2 weeks, because they'll keep saying like, Oh yeah, last week, but they're definitely shooting multiple shows a day of this.
Yeah.
Because I kind of dug into it because they get a chance to like study in between the shows and stuff. So you want to like study the categories around you and that kind of thing. So, and there's actually kind of like alliances in this season, which is like they've never really talked about that before. So
Where it's like, if you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone.
kinda,
Okay.
yeah. And like strategically like trying to cut people off or like, but it's really interesting. Like if you get stuck in the corner, like I think there's some people that don't play the game until the game's almost over, you know? Like, and if that's you, sure, you don't have a chance to win those $20,000, but you have a pretty good shot at maybe winning the whole thing.
Okay.
Because you only have to win like a couple
3 games, yeah.
Yeah. And then the last game of the whole show is like a best of 3, which is kind of cool.
That makes sense.
Anyway, the floor, it's back. Rob Lowe's awesome. We went to Camp Refresh. We're going to have a little bonus episode with Camp Refresh and talking about Bunnies a little bit more with our kiddos. But I'm going to just talk about a few games we played at Camp Refresh. The first one I want to talk about is Almost Innocent. This is from Colossal Games. Designer is Philippe Attali, and the artist is Satoshi Matsura. Almost Innocent was a Kickstarter game that I got at Gen Con in like a buy 2, get 1 free scenario, like at one of the booths, and this was my free game. I knew really nothing about it except for it was like a deduction puzzle. And basically, you're a group of people, it's cooperative, and you're a group of people that like got drunk and like you're trying to prove your innocence of like whatever happened the night before. And there's a bunch of different scenarios, and there's basically a board on the table with all these things, and you basically have the person to your left's solution in front of you. And so, depending on the scenario, you have so many tokens, and you'll spend a token, and you can either flip it to one of the 2 sides and ask a question, and you put it in a row or column, and you basically say, how many of a thing are in this column, or is my specific like item in this column, or is my person, or is my crime, or there's like 4 different categories. So you can either ask how many of a thing, or is a specific thing there? Like, do I have 3 clues in this column, or 0 clues, or whatever? So how many clues, or something about a specific clue? And you're asking that question for yourself, but really you're asking the question for everyone because everyone's going to get the answer for that. And so normally it took a little while to kind of get that through my head, but I'm like, I should be asking questions that are helping other people and not myself. And I know what helps them the most. So that was kind of the game. And it looks like it kind of ramps up and like adds difficulty. It plays pretty quick. The rules book is pretty long, but that's because there's a bunch of scenarios. Like the rules for the game are like 2 pages long. It's like a 7.2 on BGG, and it's been out for about 3 years now. It was solid. Like if you find this like on the bargain bin somewhere, Almost Innocent, and you like cooperative and deduction and stuff, this is really fun. I'm excited to try some more of the scenarios in it.
That was a late night game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we learned it right. Like I cracked my shrink on it right there and like learned it in 5-10 minutes. It was pretty easy. How about you, Tim?
We got to play Scoville. I don't know if we talked about it a lot on the podcast, but it is planting peppers in which you are kind of going through 3 phases of the game. So the first phase is you kind of call it, you bid on turn order essentially, right? And then I guess there's 4 phases. So you bid on turn order, and then you pick, when you pick your turn order, you get to then put your, I don't know, you can either go first or second, and the turn order, you'll do your 3 actions like one way and then the other way and then the back the other way. So like when you get to move your meeple, you get to harvest your stuff, and then you get to buy contracts and
plant. So
yeah.
So you bid, you pick your spot in turn order. This is a 6-player game, so if you want it, you could pick anywhere. And that's because the first thing you do is plant by putting the pepper on the board, and then you walk your guy around and harvest
in the reverse
order,
yeah.
which is like that's like the most important action. So that's why like everything is first to 6th except for harvesting. So depending on what you want to do the most, you might pick earlier or later in the turn order.
Right. So for me, and then the last thing you do is buy contracts. So then if you pick first, you get to buy contracts first, and then they're not gone. Right. So I thought that was very, very interesting around that. But essentially, all you're really doing is planting the peppers. When you walk your guy, you move in between 2 peppers, and there's like a, I don't know, flow chart I would get.
It's a grid.
Yeah, where you like
It's
you
like
look
a crossbreeding grid.
Yeah, you look. I have an orange and a blue, and they make these two things like brown or something,
Mhm.
and then you would get that pepper. We played with an expansion where it had a little laboratory in your own area where you plant
Yep.
the pepper in there, and then
In the lab.
you get the whatever pepper is next to it, so you automatically create some. So basically, you're making peppers to create two different kinds of contracts. So I don't remember the names of them, but one's like basically a recipe, and the
Yep.
other one's like the recipes are usually like 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 peppers or something like that, and they give you points. The other one is 2 or 3 peppers, which is kind of like I don't even know what they're called. What are they called?
Those are the contracts.
Those are the contracts, and then the rest. So contracts and recipes, and so you pay 2 or 3 peppers, and you get like another pepper and maybe a bonus point or 2 or something like that. So
Yep.
they're pretty easy to do, but I really liked it. I thought it was super fun. We played it at 2. I'd like to see it at 6. I think that'd be bonkers, but
Yeah, and I think it plays fine with more players.
And this is an older game that just had a reprint.
Yeah, so I don't know how old it is, but it was by TMG Games is the version I have. They don't make it. Well, they're not in business anymore. But Trick or Treat Studios reprinted it with the In the Lab expansion in the box. So if you buy the newer version, it's got updated art and it's got the expansion in it. Otherwise, I think it's all the same.
yeah. Hopefully the peppers. So when you plant peppers that are like primary colors or secondary colors, they get like taller.
Yeah.
So hopefully the peppers still do that. So like the big bad boys, the clear ones are like, an inch tall. So you have this like inch tall pepper like planted in the thing. It's pretty fun. So
the peppers look like they're kind of plastic in the new version.
boo. Yeah, so that was cool. It was, just moving your guy around efficiently to get the right peppers to fulfill contracts and, destroy Rob.
Yeah, the new one does not have they're not tall. They look like they're all the same size, but they all have like letters on them. So I think that helps with the color blindness a little bit. And they all look plasticky.
Yeah, because you do have to, the different colors matter, especially primary and secondary colors, depending on what you make. So
yeah. No, I'd like to definitely bust it out again and play with more than 2 because that makes the auction vastly more interesting.
Yeah, because I kept getting contracts to get money and I had money.
Yeah,
so
that's a
I won every
12-year-old
time.
game. It came out in 2014. So
It's fun.
yeah, I'm glad they brought it back in that new box with the expansion. Just like juices you up a little bit and lets you make more peppers and kind of probably speeds the game up a little bit. I would say
Yeah, because you just get
because it
recipes
gives you
faster.
more stuff. Yeah,
And you get to make, Reaper hot sauce.
exactly. The names on the recipes are pretty fun. We played my old 4-boy game Civolution with the acceptance letter expansion.
What does that bring? I haven't looked really into it much.
So it was an envelope, and it had 3
actually has a lot.
modules. Yeah, and Civolution's still raw. I've actually played Civolution twice in like the last month. Still really like it.
In the long gap between playing it, how much did you lose?
Nothing.
Okay.
I don't even have to crack the rule book. I can set it up without the rule book. I have to look at maybe the technology, like the last level technologies for like the cards to remember those things. I have to look at sometimes, but nah, it's one of those games that just kind of stuck in my craw, and then like everything's on the board. And like we taught it to Levi and from the dealt hand, and he got onto it pretty quick. And this is a game he really wanted to learn. So he was really happy we got that to the table, and we threw the expansion in because it didn't seem like it added a ton. So it adds 3 modules. I don't see why you don't play with all 3 of them. I could maybe take or leave the animal monster one.
They were cool.
They were cool, and you know what? If you play with those, it makes one less like. So let me start from the beginning. 3 modules. Module 1 is those yellow goal tiles that everyone ignores because you have to have so many of a trait and spend a trait. You get to start with one of those, and you start with one, and it gives you like a benefit of a bump. Like mine was basically start with another technology like upgraded or something like that. Or no, I got to start with another guy on the board and that resource. So I started with like a bigger presence on the board, and there's like 6 of them. And you do like
You draft.
Yeah, you do a draft for these things. You put them out there with the chip cards, with the goal chips. That's part of the draft for that now. So that's those. Those are great. They get you started on your tableau earlier, and they give you one of those yellow things, and they kind of give you a jump start. The second one are the monsters or creatures. I don't know what to call them exactly. But there's 6 of them in the whole deck. You basically make a stack of them and flip one up. They have to do with each of the different terrain types. And the one that's face up is the one that you can get. So if you are, I'm trying to remember, if you're in, like ours was a swamp. So if you were in the swamp during the feeding time, or no.
You hunt them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can hunt them.
So when you hunt, you pick the area that they are.
Yes.
And so like the swamp, so you're hunting something that's like maybe worse food.
And you have to roll the pink die, right?
Yep.
And then if it's under a certain, you just have to pass the check.
Your check, yeah, your pink check.
The pink die check. So as long as you pass that, you get him and you can slot him. And he takes up one of the columns, which means you're not going to be able to place one of the other things at some point in the game, like one of the card types, or I'm pretty sure.
He might have been wild.
No, I don't think so.
What was wild? The yellows are wild.
No, the income chips are wild.
Okay, yeah.
So like they take up their own thing. I needed to look that up because I thought that was interesting. Because right now I think there's enough columns for everything. Although maybe there's enough columns for everything, and then you also could have income chips in a thing, but they're also wild. I could be wrong about that. Anyway, it's one more thing to start filling up your board. And then every time you feed, you could feed them the resources of the region that they're from. And you got, they all gave you the same bonus. If you fed 1, you got 1 thing. If you fed 2, you got 2 things. And if you fed 3, you got all 3 things. And they also all had an instant bonus you got when you hunted them and tamed them, I think was the deal. So that was the monsters. The coolest part for me was the level 4 technologies. You basically put out 3 per player, I think, and then you snake draft them. And then after you snake draft, so you're going to get 3 technologies that you could go to level 4 with. So like really hammer something hard. And then you get to pick one of those 3 that you took and start it upgraded. And so if you combo that with the other thing, like you could start with a level 3 technology maybe right out of the gate. If you combo that with like the other card because you always start with one technology upgraded anyway. So those are the 3 things. It was really small. It fits into the box easy, and it was really easy to throw in.
It probably doesn't add much playtime then.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
0.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe.
you have to explain how the monsters work, and then you have to you have that extra draft for the things. But that was basically it.
There's no addition.
I don't think so.
I mean, because you're hunting anyway, if you're going to hunt, and you have to roll, I mean, you roll the same dice. So it's like very, very, very minimal.
Yeah. So if you liked Civolution, Acceptance Letter is a no-brainer expansion. It just gives you more of the same stuff.
Yeah. And
really. The only real new thing were the monsters.
You get juiced up a little bit.
Yeah, and a little bit of extra juice. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
All right. And then kind of to wrap up, we played a bunch of other games that we've talked about a lot, but Rob got roped into, I don't know how this actually happened, a LARPing hot streak. So
yeah, I talked to Joe about this at Capital City Gaming Con.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And I definitely gave him an idea for it because I saw other people doing it. And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're doing that."
Yeah,
and
so
then I offered my services, so to say.
I believe you put some pictures in the Discord, but call it Hot Streak in real life, in which Rob was the hot dog, and
the bun banger.
Yeah, the bun banger. Sorry, my bad.
Specifically,
and then 3 other people dressed up as the other 3 characters, and we all sat on the side of a hill, and the Joe Roth, who's been on the podcast before, ran the game kind of at the top of the hill, and did we talk about after Capital City Gaming Con? Did we talk about how the large group hot streak works? We can probably do a refresher where you basically you print out a bunch of, call it, little sheets in which it has the 3 rounds and then has the 4 characters and then a yes or a no for a side bet, and you can make 2 bets on it. Basically, there's no draft for chips, which you score more points or whatever, and then you would just essentially assign a dollar value for first, second, third place and the side bet. And when the game is over, if you've circled Mum and Mum wins, you get that amount of money for first place divided by the number of people that picked Mum to place. So, there's a little more, I don't call it strategy, or it's a little bit different in this game in that if you're betting on something with a lot less people, you have a better chance to get a significant dollar payout. So, sometimes you might think about, I don't know, circling something that you think everybody else is going to say no to, because getting $2 is not wonderful, but having the chance to get like 12, even if it's a longer shot, is pretty cool. So
if you're in the minority and your person at least places not 4th, you're pretty good.
You kind of roll in it. So, but yeah, so it was super fun. They ran the whole game kind of on a microphone, and there was 70 people on the hill plus Rob and the 3 other contestants, and then in intermission they shot T-shirts into the audience, and which Bo got to do with a little water balloon slingshot thing, and it was really fun. It was super cool to kind of have that happen, kind of after dinner and the picture and all that stuff. So it was very fun. I think BGG Con does something like that, maybe, was what Ben said. So if you get a chance to partake in that, I think it's worth your time. It was probably 15 minutes to get the whole thing done.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah. And we'll make sure we share some more pictures when this podcast episode comes out too.
For sure. I do want to talk about one more game. I know I've talked about this before, but there's 2 reasons I want to bring it back up. It is Risk Star Wars Edition. This came out in 2015. It is by Hasbro, and it is not Risk. So ignore that part. They put that on there to sell games, I think. It is a 2-player game where you are playing Return of the Jedi. And the board looks like a TIE fighter. And on one of the wings of the TIE fighter, you are trying to progress on Endor to blow up the generator, and the other player is trying to stop you. On the other wing, Darth Vader is fighting Luke Skywalker up on the Death Star. And on the middle is the space battle. And to win, the Rebel player has to blow up the Death Star, but they have to take down the shield generator first. And if Luke dies, or if Vader dies, or if you redeem Vader, you get bonuses. Like that board does not affect the game anymore, except for the fact that you get juiced up if you can accomplish your goal over there. On the main board, you're fighting. The Death Star's in the middle. You got tons of ships. There's a Millennium Falcon. There's the Executor for the Imperials. There's B-Wings, Y-Wings, X-Wings, and they all roll and hit on they get hit on different numbers of dice. And what you do on your turn is you draw 3 cards. You have a 6-card hand. You play 3 of them in a stack, and that's like a programmed stack. And all the cards either have 2 or 3 symbols on them. On your turn, you flip the card over and you do one of the symbols. So it's either to go on the Endor board, you roll all your dice, and as you go, it gets harder. Like at first you need 2s, then you need 3s and 4s, and then finally you need 5s to progress the little tracker to get it blown up. So you roll the dice, and as many times as you can move that tracker, you move it. If they play a Stormtrooper face, they get to put Stormtroopers on there, and then you need 1 more than the value on that spot, so they can make it harder for you to get down that track. If you play Luke Skywalker, you roll dice, and you hit Vader on, I think, a 4+. Vader hits Luke on the same thing. You can play lightning bolts that just do 2 damage to Luke. When you play the Millennium Falcon, it rolls a certain amount of dice, and it can take so much damage, and the Executor can take so much damage. The TIE Fighters, when you play the TIE Fighter symbol, you either can move them. Basically, with all the ships, you can move a group of the ships to another sector, an adjacent sector, and then attack. And you get to roll 1 die per, up to the max of, I think there's 5 dice. And then if you have the Death Star symbol, there's these little tags on the outside of the board that are like fleets. And some of your ships start on those fleets if you're the rebels. But the Death Star on a 5 or 6 just blows up the whole fleet token and everything on it. So if you haven't moved that stuff off there, that's pretty bad. And once they blow up every fleet token, they can just start targeting sectors in space. Bo and I played this, I don't know, a half a dozen times over the years. We brought it out for May the 4th. It plays in 20, 25 minutes. It's so fun. If you can still find copies of this game, Risk Star Wars is awesome. I wanted to bring this up because this is not a straight reprint, but the same game concept as an old game called Queen's Gambit, where you played episode 1, but it's much grander. And I think you pay $400 or $500 on the secondary market to find this game now. They have a 3-tier level thing of.
I remember watching it be played.
Yeah, have you seen this game?
Yeah.
So it's
actually Dave here, who was on the last podcast, has it. Okay. I saw him play it. Yeah.
So it's a cheap version of Queen's Gambit, a little stripped down. And I only bring that up because Restoration Games is coming out with the King's Gambit. They got the license for Lord of the Rings, and they're redoing the Queen's Gambit as the King's Gambit. So they're doing that in Lord of the Rings style. I don't know how it could be much better than that for me.
Are they going to have a 3D map?
I think that their deluxe version is going to be bonkers, and I'm afraid to see how much it is. So they're going to have a giant Kickstarted 3D version, and I think Space Cowboys is going to be doing the retail, because Space Cowboys is part of Asmodee, and Asmodee is owned by a company that has Middle-earth Enterprises as part of it. So that's why they put out all these Lord of the Rings games, is because they kind of own the IP anyway. They're all kind of together. So they're going to put out the retail version of the game. So there will be a retail version and there will be an insane Kickstarter version, supposedly.
Are you going to do the Kickstarter essentially regardless of price?
I mean, I think so. I've always kind of wanted Queen's Gambit. I love Lord of the Rings. And actually, I passed on a recent like Lord of the Rings miniatures type game that was like crazy expensive. And now I know why, because this was the one I was waiting for, I think. And it's going to be the battle. It's going to be the Return of the King. So I think it's like the battle in front of like the Pelennor Fields in front of Minas Tirith. And then I think it's like maybe Sam and Frodo trying to dunk the ring. And I'm not 100% sure what the third thing is. I know they've said what they all are, but you know, they're going to have it's split into 3 different kind of battles like the rest of them. So anyway, super pumped about that.
Interesting. I hope it's a giant 3D map and it costs $2,000.
You're killing me. So tonight on the podcast, we did Wayfarers of the South Tigris. It came out in 2022. It is 7.8 on Board Game Geek with a rank of 345th overall. Strategy 206th. It is 1 to 4 players, best at 2. 60 to 90 minutes, 13 plus. Ages 13 plus. Weight is 3.81 out of 5. The designers are S.J. McDonald and Shem Phillips. The artist is Mihailo Dimitrescu, and the publisher is Garphill Games and Renegade Games. Jake, why don't you talk to us about how you play Wayfarers of the South Tigris?
So this is, as we mentioned earlier, the first game in the South Tigris series. So the idea here is we are centered in Baghdad, and we are going out and exploring both land and water routes from there, and then mapping that out. So as you take actions, you are going to either place a die on one of the actions in your tableau, or you are going to place a worker onto a card on the board, which is going to activate an action that's there, or you're going to rest, which is effectively moving you forward on I think it's called it's like scholar is what you're doing, but you're having mapped things out and making progress. So to move forward on that, you have to have met different criteria. So it's this pathway that has branching different directions that you can take that all require different amounts of tags. And so you're kind of planning your path out while also working towards scoring. So the game is going to score in the groups of similar icons or tags that you've gained, in sets of different tags that you've gained, and then in your star cards, which are effectively going to go above either the land or the water air cards that you gain by mapping those areas. And then it's going to give you a scoring criteria. And then there are 3 times throughout the game, and there's a couple other little ways you can as well get cards that potentially double that out there. But effectively, you are building out a tableau, which is going to build your actions and make them more powerful, while also trying to collect tags that are going to score you sets, and then also what's reflected in the space cards that you have. I think that is probably the best way to describe what we do in Wayfarers of the South Tigris.
All right, let's get to the table and come back with our thoughts on Wayfarers of the South Tigris. All right, we're back. Initial thoughts time here on the Board Boys podcast for Wayfarers of the South Tigris. I'll go first. It was a Garphill game. It was an of the something. I gave up on those a long time ago. So that was where I was at. I had zero idea what anything was about this game, but I was coming into it with an open mind, and I'm glad I did.
For me, I think I got this shortly on the heels after I had gotten and really fallen in love with Hadrian's Wall. And so then I was just kind of looking around, and I had played some of the West Kingdom series, and none of those had necessarily struck a chord. And then I was reading a review of this, and they talked about the dice usage And it kind of made me think maybe Castles of Burgundy in a way. I mean, it's not really like that other than the fact that you have dice, which kind of determine what actions you're able to take. But I took a chance on it, and I was really pleasantly surprised about playing it. It did lead to me getting the second game in the series, which I didn't like as much and don't have anymore, and haven't played the third game in the series. But this one is, again, we'll talk more about it later, but it was a pleasant surprise.
I don't know what it is about these games, but just looking at them, I just feel like they're all the same, and I have a really hard time getting over that in my head.
Same, bro.
So it just makes me not be excited to play them. It's not like I don't want to. It just some about the art and and just that they're all the same. It just feels like, I don't know. It almost like in my head
is, if you know the symbols, you mostly know the symbols. Although, to jump ahead on a con for this one, there are a lot of symbols in this one that were like, what is this? Like, we were in the book a lot.
Yeah, like in my head, these games are more like Uwe Rosenberg's, patchwork iterations where I don't remember what they are, like Cottage Grove. Like, it feels like it's like that, but they're not actually. They're like completely different games. But every time I look at them, like, oh, it's like the 7th iteration of the same thing. So
it's interesting that familiarity, despite being different, is a con, because for some people, I think that definitely would be a big pro in the fact that it sets you up to maybe the lift isn't as high to learn a new game, especially when they're heavy, because this game is pretty heavy. I mean,
I think it's just because we, at least in our group, we really like variety. And so things being different and artistically different and graphically different, if you like to play the same, a lot of the same thing, that is a home run for you in this thing. And they're super popular. I mean, they people buy all these trilogies, and keep them. So and they're all different, right? I'm not saying that they're not different.
Yeah,
it's
no.
just Tim and I's perception is they're just like an iteration.
yeah, this is going to be the same game.
But they're not. They all have vastly different mechanisms.
And every time I look at it, I know that in my head that is wrong. It's not right. But then every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, this is just going to be the same as the other one.
Also, they said this was a 3.8. That seems really heavy for this
I
game.
feel like, let me come back to that. I want to challenge you two on something. I totally respect your opinion and the way you perceive them, because that's the way you perceive them. But I feel like when Ian O'Toole is doing the graphic design of something, that feel exists for me the same way, in the fact that there is the way that things are structured, the way that things look. If you've played some of the other games he's done, they make sense a little bit more easier. Why is that a disconnect from?
Because they have different art and different symbols.
So, okay. But
they use the same coin and same bag symbol in every single one of their games. They are using the same coin in the South Tigris that they used in Raiders of the North Sea. Get some different money, bro. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I think that's intentional on their part, but I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah, for me, I think it's the character art that makes me feel like it's the same thing over and over and over again.
I mean, that's fair. The artist is always the same for these series, so
and it's not different enough. Like, I would say, like a Kyle Farron from the Root to Arcs guy. The art's got it's the same artist, but the characters are different enough that and what I'm saying is, this is just, I know that it is not right, but every time they get put out in front of me, I'm like, maybe it's just because I said such a bad time with Viscounts that it was just I don't.
Oh, this is the Miko.
Yeah.
He just quit calling himself the Miko? They started putting his full name on there? Because I've never liked the Miko art.
I do hear you. And in regards to leader games, I think that probably one of the big disconnects there is, all of these games are history series, whereas those are, Fort is your kids on a playground, Root is woodland animals, and Arcs is space.
Yeah,
so they're so far away from each other that you probably don't feel that the same.
And it probably doesn't help that it's 3 sets of 3, where the 3 are very close.
That's true.
In theme and art too. So
yeah,
that might be part of it too. It's just there's no spacefaring, wayfarers of Jupiter or whatever.
Maybe eventually.
Yeah, right. Which I think would make me be like, oh, this is a different game. I don't know what.
I'm right there with you.
Just something that I can't. I know it's not right, and I just can't get it out of my head.
So I think back to, we talked about the weight. This was a game that upon first play, it didn't necessarily feel crazy heavy to me either. So I played this with Macy, and I think this is the heaviest game I've had her play, and she liked it. And so then I decided one time, we'll have my parents do this, and they could not understand it. And they play, my mom's favorite game is Castles of Burgundy. So it's not like they play super light games, but I think the fact that the dice placement isn't limited to the die. It's also what assets exist, and then you have to look at the caravan to figure that out. Like, I think that is a hard connect for some people, and that's probably why.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of actions you can gain. Like, you can keep growing your action pool, and then you can grow the amount of things you can do based on an action or a thing you get. So, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. I mean, it's one of those things where it's usually greater than some of its parts, right? Like,
and I think to add on that too, I think another component maybe to the weight is sometimes it's challenging to be able to do the thing that you want to do. So a lot of other games, you're like, I want to do this. How do I do it? And in some cases, like, you just are not in a situation where you can do that.
That's true. And there's a lot of space. I wasn't even thinking about all the spaces you can put your worker on the board. So there's a lot going on in this one. All right, you've swayed me.
Yeah, and there's a lot of symbols too. Where
you swayed me. It just felt so close to a 4, and I'm like, it's not a 4.
Yeah,
but there's a wide weight is a very subjective, dumb thing on BGG that we probably argue about too much. But
I don't think it's a dumb thing. I think it leads to conversations about how heavy something is, but I do think it is valuable in kind of sussing out.
Kind of, except for the people that just like totally screw with the scale by saying, "Oh, that's a 1." You know,
I mean, that's true.
TI4 1, because there's people that do that and they don't fix it. Anyway, so pros for me, I really like dice placement on stuff, and I did like the upgrading your caravan to like juice up dice, and I did a lot of that this game. That was neat, and I do like tableau building, so that was cool. I liked how the board, it made a lot of sense where stuff went on your board, and then like how you then put sky above your land or your sea, and just there's a lot of ways to get points and a lot of ways to go about it. And the main crux of the game was this giant branching track. Let's call it a track. Remind me a lot of Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Yeah.
Going up that. So we got to spend stuff. Here you had to meet objectives. So I really liked that. I really liked the track in the middle of the board. And that being the timer for the game makes it interesting because you can kind of watch how fast people are cranking through that.
And I love that there are flexibility, because in the beginning of the game, you more or less have one ability to move forward on that. And there's other ways as you go that you can get kind of to wrinkle that and make it go faster. But I just really like the long-term planning of, even though I did a terrible job of that this game, you can look and see what branching path you want to take to know what is going to be the easiest way for you to get through that threshold. And then you kind of map your way out through that. So there's definitely a lot of potential to look ahead to see what you need to do and work around that. And that's obviously something that I always really enjoy when I'm playing games.
Yeah, I think the track was my favorite part of the game, which is really good. It also adds like where you get extra dice as you kind of move through it. You get end game scoring cards as you move through it. First players to get through stuff get like the meeple bonuses and things. So I thought that was cool. That, you know, if you're going to rest early and maybe try to get the green meeple first or whatever it is, you know, I thought it was good. Now on the other side, pushing the track, like I think if someone gets ahead on it, it would be really hard to kind of catch up to somebody else if they're trying to get to the end. And, you know, Rob scored 1/5 of all of his points from hitting the end of the track, right? So, you know, there could be a little bit of like, it might be hard to catch up if you're not paying attention to that, or you get stuck, or you didn't, you know, you missed one movement and all of a sudden it's like, well, I can't get to the end now, right? So
I definitely think that there is a varying tempo in this game that I think that might be something that I like about it, that games are going to change based on the way that they go. I mean, I guess it's really kind of a similar vibe to Pirates of Maracaibo or, you know, Great Western Trail. You kind of need to see the way that other people are playing and make decisions based on that. Like, I in no way was ready for the end of the game, and I just missed getting double scoring on multiple of my end game scorers, which would have shot me way forward in points, but I didn't get time to do it. So, you know, it was perceptive of Rob to realize it was in his interest to kind of push forward there. I think I really like that track, as the two of them mentioned, but I think my favorite thing about this game, in a weird way, this hits for me very similar to how Alma Mater hits me. And it's just like everything is hard. And you have to be purposeful with how you get things and the way that you can kind of wombo your way into them. Like the meeples, that's such a cool system to have. In addition to the main actions you're taking of placing die, you also always have this flexibility to go out and claim these little rewards to set yourself up for something. And then with that, if you end up buying or, you know, getting a card that has meeples on it, you get to collect those back, which is just a a unique windfall that I don't feel like exists in a lot of other places. So I really like how challenging it is to score well in the things that you're trying to score. And I think that's something that probably comes a little bit better the more you play it. But then I also just like, again, how purposeful you have to have mapped your steps out to do the things that you want to do. So that is probably why it scratches a good itch for me.
It's also probably why the weight is a little heavier, right? There's, you got to put your meeples out, you got your dice placement, you got your track bumps, we all kind of covered that. But yeah, I could see where this could really stick someone pretty hard of like thinking about what to take for their turn.
I completely agree that is a potential. And I do like the 3 guilds that are kind of area control-y at the far side. Like those are powerful things to be able to utilize, to be able to, you can only do them once per turn, but they really allow you to, in a couple ways, get out of a circumstance that you find yourself in. But, also as Rob did, just kind of making your dice really powerful, which gives them the flexibility to change number and allow them to have different assets to take different actions. There's just a lot of ways that you can approach this. And I think, again, that is something that I enjoy quite a bit about it.
Yeah, I liked you could use those little asterisk tokens for like spending instead of money for things. Because sometimes you didn't have the money, so I bought a bunch of upgrades with those tokens as well, because that was a resource you could get fairly frequently, like as much as you could get everything else. It felt like, for me anyway. And I like how all the cards can do something different, and you kind of build your tableau the right way, then build your caravan towards that, but still fix your dice with the yellow guild or whatever you wanted to call it.
You can also fix your dice with the upgrades, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, the upgrades, fixing your dice, that was cool as well. I mean, yeah, it all just kind of fit well together. I could see where you could really spin your wheels hard on this one. Like, I did a thing where I was trying to get a card, and I spun my wheels for a bunch of turns, and then the card was gone, and I didn't even realize it, and I should have just pivoted to do something else. But, yeah, the workers are also cool. There's just so many choices you can make out there. Didn't even occur. Like, I was always looking first at what I'm going to do with my dice, and then like the guys were an afterthought for me. But then I started pivoting a little bit, and I'm like, well, what can I do with these guys that can help me do stuff with my dice? Kind of a thing.
Yeah, so the workers kind of felt like collecting stuff. Like this is how you go get resources, and then you take your dice to do like the actions by cards or whatever to or upgrades, or I guess upgrades were probably for the workers, but for the most part, it felt like you send the workers out to get stuff, and then use that stuff to make your dice better or whatever it is.
The hardest thing for me was trying to get more than one type of a card between resets, which is probably kind of by design. It felt like the cards to get more cards were a little more rare than everything else, which I guess is also awesome. You can use your little asterisk token thing to like block cards. And so if people want to take a card that you put something on, they
kind of pay you a provision or a coin.
And that's awesome too. To be honest, one of my favorite things in the game might just have been those little asterisk tokens, like all the stuff you did with them.
Yeah.
Because you spend them for things. They were area control for points at the end of the game. You could spend them as money to get upgrades. You could put them on cards. They were very versatile. They did a lot of stuff.
Another thing on that note, I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier too, but I really enjoy for all the different things you do in this game. Scoring is pretty minimized to just a couple different things. Like, you don't score points in a ton of different areas. Outside of you're getting sets for tags, which is primarily how you're moving across that main track on the board anyways, you're scoring for the planet cards that you choose to take. And so you're really kind of setting yourself up for that. And I think that you can lead to a lot of success by getting a couple of those that lean in potentially different directions, which then there's so many cards visible at any given moment that kind of opens the door. There's always something you can probably do. I know Tim mentioned that the card he was looking for, he just didn't see a lot, but he put a lot of focus into the one, like that was going to score in multiple ways for him, but then that made it harder to get. So I think there's just different ways that you can approach that too. And I think that leads to it being kind of refreshing upon multiple plays. And then another pro I want to mention regarding the board and the track that Tim and Rob have mentioned that I liked a lot, both of those, or all three of those boards, are reversible. So you can mix and match them for what types of icons are there. And so it's not the same steps at each level. It always is different depending on which way you have the board flipped around.
I like that the meeples were a closed ecosystem, essentially, where, once they entered the game, they were on the cards, and you either got them from buying the cards or you got them from, an action that lets you pick the meeples up off the board. So it was an interesting, way to think about that, it's not you can just take it from the supply. It was either on the card and you had it, or you didn't. If someone wasn't spending them, they weren't there to take back. And, there was a couple of powerful like meeple actions, especially the green ones that could let you do some cool stuff that like if you just sat on a green meeple, it was just not available for everybody else to use. So
yeah, that was Tim holding all the green meeples for a while. I don't know. Yeah. But it's a nice feeling though to know you have the meeples there in addition to your dice to flex that over. Should we jump to cons? We alluded to this a little bit earlier, but I definitely think this game has the potential to get bogged down a lot if people spend a ton of time evaluating all of the different options that they could do. Because if they have meeples, if they have most of their dice, they really could go in a million different directions. So when I played the game that I played with my parents, like we didn't finish it and we played a long time. But like again, it was too much, and that was my mistake for bringing it effectively to the wrong group. But it definitely can bog down and be long, and I think that's why it recommends it's best at 2. We played it at 90 minutes today, which was pretty snappy, but I think I don't think there's a lot of incentive to play it with the upper ends of the amount of people.
I think as a con, I feel like boxes are doing a better job these days of not lying to you, but I think 60 to 90 on this game is a 2-player game. I mean, we played pretty quick, and the 3 of us knocked it out in 90. It's probably a 30-minute to 40-minute per player game.
There's a chance this could be a 2-hour per player game if you just can't, like, because it's so player focused about when you end
if people plan bad and they can't
move forward.
We played it in 90 minutes and I rushed the end.
Right.
And that's kind of one of my cons, I think I had fun playing the game, but I didn't want to play it any longer than we played it tonight. Like, it kind of felt a little repetitive, and I don't know how to put my finger on that. Like, I really liked everything about it, but like, I was ready to be done. Like, if this game is always like a 90-minute game, awesome.
So this game has fixed your pacing problem that you hate about other games. Like, this is the one that did it right for you. It made you want to push the end, because all the other games you just like to drop.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I didn't see any benefit to like keep looping and like making my board bigger and like huger. I was just, although like I wasn't I was pushing it. Like, it took me a long time. I think I reset less than you guys did.
I think so, probably.
I got a lot of like dice reroll things.
I don't think I got any of those the whole game that let you pull. And that's a cool thing too, that there's an icon that lets you pick a dice.
And I unlocked my
spot.
dice. I did like the fact that you can unlock more dice as you go down that track too. That was awesome. And I was the first one to unlock each of my 2 dice. So yeah, I think I just in general did that. The reason why I moved so much on that track was spending those cogs and moving extra and taking the action that actually does it. So
yeah. I think that's my biggest con for this game is that like I could see a scenario where if you're playing with 3 people that maybe messed up their path, cornered yourself, right? Where it takes 4 or 5 actions to then get yourself out of a corner. Like, you could reset 2 or 3 times and not move your thing, and that could happen across the table, and this could be a 2 to 3 hour game. Like, I could see that happening.
Yeah, and it didn't really occur to me till they said best at 2. There's like almost zero benefit to playing this game with more people.
I mean, yeah, outside of the area control elements, and then the putting the little pieces on cards. The more people play there, the better chance you're going to sneak a reward.
I think this would be a sick 2-player game.
I mean, that's the way I've played it the most. I've played it with Macy probably 3 times, and we've always done it 2 players, and we zip pretty quick when you're doing it that way. But that is a real con. We said this earlier, but I also don't love the art. It's just not my style per se. I mean, I get why people would like it, but as Tim said I think Tim and Rob both said it, but once we had it all set up, there was just kind of a look of, this doesn't really look all that impressive. This is definitely not a game that would attract somebody's attention across a con to be like, oh, what's that? So that is definitely a con about it, and I agree.
It does not pop. Like, it's like, oh, okay. And I think, the art kind of being the same, but I also commented on that it looks a little bit more like, was it Rio Grande games, where it's a little bit less like, it felt like the cardboard was like, bending a little bit, probably warped, and the cards but the cards actually weren't. They just looked a little flimsier. But once you picked them up, they felt fine. So, but yeah, it just kind of looked a little more like a Rio Grande game than you would expect maybe from some of these guys. So,
and let me preface this by saying I don't really know what you would put on them, but the space cards had how they score at the top, a little icon in the bottom right corner, and then most of the card was nothing.
It was black.
The inspiration card did the same thing on the side. It gave you how do you double your score. It had some weird colors, and it had the little icon for if you don't want to take it and dump the meeple.
I mean, like the comic cards could have had big comets on them or something.
Yeah, or just make them way smaller. Make them
or the
tiles
planet
or
ones
something.
could have had a
Yeah.
big planet on them.
Yeah.
Like, it was kind of lazy.
Yeah, like I mean, Galileo has giant cards for all of that stuff, and they look awesome.
Yeah, that's
So-
true. Minor Pro, good job on these guys for giving up on the stupid, dumb, tiny box sizes of the previous trilogies.
Oh yeah,
The West Kingdom ones aren't small, are they? Oh, they're small. They're smaller box than this.
Yeah, they're like the DeVere ones.
oh,
Like the
whoa.
small ones. So yeah, the like Paladins of the West Kingdom is like impossible to put in the box without that insert that I had made. So yeah, they went on a more of a general square shape on this one, a little bigger.
The insert's actually great in this. It comes with it. I think the only problem with it is, I mean, there's no like lid to hold things. Like it's got, for all the individual upgrade tiles, there are slots for all of them individually. So I think if I just 3D printed basically a top for it, then it would be perfect.
yeah, because it doesn't have the main board is like individual pieces of
3
cardboard.
pieces,
It's not
yes.
like you have the board that's exactly the same size as the box you can put on the top. So,
You
yeah,
can't. Nope.
yeah.
So there is definitely opportunity. So I had kept this flat in where I had it stored, and there was nothing out of place when I got here. But if you had it vertical without something like that, I think that would be less ideal.
Nothing drives me more bonkers than a game that has an insert printed in it that is just garbage. Like I would rather you just not.
That is 95% of them.
Yeah, I would just don't put it in there. Stop wasting the money on it. Just give 5 bags and be done with it. So, all right. Anything else?
5 bags when you need 10 bags.
I mean, I'd rather have that than a insert I'm going to throw away because I know it cost you. I know I added a couple dollars to this game that was unnecessary.
Sure.
So on that note, real quick, sidebar. Now, granted, we do deal with this a little less now that Rob and I 3D print stuff, but how often do you find, rank these in order. They don't give you enough bags. They give you the exact right amount of bags. They give you too many bags. In the common occurrences that when you open games, how do you feel like that aligns?
Not enough.
Yeah, probably not
usually.
enough. Yeah.
But then it's too much. It's like never the amount that I think makes sense, right?
Yeah.
How often do you open a game?
Yeah,
that, like,
sometimes I'm like, I end up with extra bags and I'm like, why?
I feel like that happens nearly as often for me as not enough bags.
But sometimes you open it and there's 0 to 2 bags and you need like 7 or 8,
I've definitely gotten to the habit of when I unbox games, I just turn to the components page, and that's kind of how I chunk stuff. Or I'll even look at the setup and figure out how things should go in there. But yeah, that's a fun side conversation.
That is true.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they buy. Hey, it's a pack of 10. You throw it in there, and you use 10 or you don't, and that's
Yeah.
Probably.
All right, well, final thoughts time here on the Board Boys podcast. We have a 3 Boeing rating scale, 0 being the worst, 3 being the best. Your favorite game ever is the 4 Boenger. Half Boeings are allowed. I'm going to go a 0 Boeing game of Wayfarers of the South Tigris would be
You're stuck in the North Tigris.
maybe,
Okay.
or they're blocking the Strait of Hormuz. I don't know.
Yeah, and gas is
That's around the same area, right?
$88 a gallon.
Yeah. The 3 Boeing game of Wayfarers is it's Baghdad, City of Peace.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Okay.
we did 3 boys those games. Yeah.
That's true. All right. I'll go first. I'm going to give this guy a 2. It is an okay Euro in my book. I would play it again. I would not play it. I would gouge my eyes out if it played longer than 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because this was like the right amount of time, and that was good. And I could see this being like a great 2-player game. And you're right. Like, this is, I don't know. The more we talked about it, the more I'm starting to agree that this is heavier than I think it is.
I mean, is it a 4? 4 out of 5?
No.
Yeah, okay.
So 3.8 you feel better about?
Yeah, probably. At least a 3.5.
I'll go next. 2 for me. Everything Rob said, I think, is true. I would play this game again. I liked it better than Viscount's. About the only one that I've ever played. The only other one I played from these guys. So
I think Paladins is my favorite from them.
okay. But yeah,
Through the North Sea is cool too.
I should probably give them more of a shot. It just no one we have like really plays them very much
Yeah.
and likes them a lot and brings them. So but this turned me around to say I'd play more of their games. So I liked it.
I can go next. Like I mentioned, this was a pleasant surprise for me. I really enjoy it. It just, I can't really put exactly with my finger on what makes me feel the way I feel about this and the way I feel about Alma Mater. I know I said that on that episode. I think
It's moving down a track that's really hard.
Maybe.
Yeah, because it's the same thing in Alma Mater. Going up that track
You know
on the
what?
side. Yeah.
There's probably somebody, but also I just feel like every time you look at the people you want to get, you're like, how am I going to get that stuff?
Yeah.
And then you find a way to do it. Anyways, for me, it's a 2.5. It's a game I really like. I don't think it could ever get to a 3. I definitely think 2 is the sweet spot. Like I said, I've had a lot of success playing it there. And I mean, realistically, if 2 of us were playing this, I think we could probably play it in an hour.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the right amount of time for how you do this.
If you had 2 people that didn't want to finish the game, you could play it in 3 hours,
That's true. Yeah,
So.
that's true.
All right, so that'll wrap us up for Wayfarers of the South Tigris. We do like to look back in the past 1 year at a segment we like to call Bump or Dump. Rob?
Time for that bumper dump,
Ooh,
baby.
love it. All right.
That's what I got.
So 1 year ago, we played the Anarchy. It was an 8.4 for 6612. It is still an 8.4. Bumper.
That's crazy. It's still that high.
Yeah.
It's a massive bump.
It is massive. Yeah, it's 1228. So I assume it's going to continue to kind of go up. I mean, Hadrian's Wall's in the top 100.
It's still
right?
in 1228.
1228.
Is Hadrian's Wall in the top 100? I don't think it is. I think it's close, but I don't think it's in there.
We'll find out.
If it's still there, that just means there's not that many people voting for it, I guess. People are like, I'm going to stick with Hadrian's Wall.
Yeah.
169.
Okay. So, I mean, top 200. I still love this game. It was my favorite game of last year. It's still definitely a 3-boing for me. I do think that over time, I have come to feel like if I could just take the parts I love about Hadrian's Wall and the parts I love about the Anarchy and combine them, it could maybe be a 4-point game for me. But I feel like there are things that I like about each of them a little bit better than the other one. And so I'm kind of in this zone where I love them both, but I really don't. I probably depend on the day which one I would say I like more.
What are the things you would swap?
So I really like the defense system in the Anarchy and the fact that you're getting some clarity as to what's coming, but it's not fully, you don't have full information, so you got to make some speculations there. That's so much better than just the random attacks that come on Hadrian's Wall. I do feel like the right side sheet in Hadrian's Wall is way more interesting than in the Anarchy.
I agree with that.
Cam said that right off the bat, and it took a while for me to kind of come to that, but I just feel like in Hadrian's Wall, what you're doing on the right, it takes like the whole game to do the thing that you're trying to do, and it feels like in the Anarchy, there are things that you can just knock out really quickly to then do what you want to do on the left side. And so you just do a couple of, and then that feeds what you're trying to do, and it doesn't feel like you're really trying to complete like a mini game as much as on Hadrian's Wall. So I feel like that. I really liked I know Rob liked it at the time, but I really liked the coin wheel and how you're getting people unlock it that way. I like the variability of how you use people in both the games. So I love them. I understand why their spreadsheets the game is not attractive for everybody, and also their campaigns are both amazing.
Yeah, I think they're fun. I would on the Anarchy. I did not more and more like think about it. I did not love the food fight track thing where you had to like get new technology to then go fight. It felt like if you just didn't do that, that was a huge deal. And
so there is the other mode where you don't do that.
Okay.
So I'd be curious how you'd feel about that one in there instead.
What did I give this one?
You gave it
I think
a
a 2.
2. Yeah, I gave it a 2.5. Jake gave it a 3. Cam gave it a 2.5.
Okay, maybe I need to play it again. Although, wasn't this the game where like I scored 1 billion points and probably cheated?
Yes, but we never exactly figured out where.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I could just never play this game again, probably.
I think you had fun when you were playing.
I honestly cannot remember almost anything about it. So
yeah. So you have like your dice and the little
yeah,
notes.
I mean, I would probably try it again.
I mean, I really like Hadrian's Wall. I think I like Hadrian's Wall more than Anarchy.
Yeah.
Now that
I think I like my roll and write simpler.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
as much as I don't even really like roll and write.
I might say the opposite if the Anarchy was on BGA and I'd played like 40 more games of it too.
Sure.
So, but
well, since Hadrian's Wall there, maybe that will make it happen. But like the solo campaign is not on BGA, right?
Not
for Hadrian's
that I'm
Wall?
aware of.
I didn't think so.
I've never played it solo, so.
Yeah,
but
you borrowed mine and played. You played about half of it.
Oh, sorry, solo on BGA.
On BGA, yeah.
All right. So if you want to give us feedback, you can do so at our Board Game Geek Guild. You can find that through the website. We got one reply. So David Moore, he really likes the combos you could have, but I didn't like how the attacks changed every round. You build up to prevent a walled range attack only for the next round to be something else in a different direction. I wish the attack stayed the same so you could strategically prepare more. It would help. It would make the increased damage they do every round mean more. Someone could get lucky and get the same attack while others would have to pivot. I think that happened in our game where Cam got attacked at like the one thing
over and over, yeah.
And then by the time it was something else, it was like the last round, you could just crush out something, right? So I couldn't commit resources to defend while progressing the attack track at the same time, which left me in the dust for points. I only have one play, so maybe that more experience would help. But for the only one play, he's going to give it a 1 boing.
Ooh.
Yeah. All right, that's the only reply.
All right, well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Borderlands Podcast, Season 18, Episode 9. Yes, that's right, 9. Wayfarers of the South Tigris. You go to theboardboys.com to get all our links and go to our social media there or our Discord and come play some BGA games with us or just chat about games with us on the Discord. Or go to the Patreon link or theboardboys.com/Patreon to support us. Also, any 5-star iTunes or Spotify reviews would be very helpful, or just sharing our content. Love it. I'd like to thank our patrons now: BJ from Board Game Gumbo, Timothy Crisco, Shifty Teeth, Jordan Smith, Andre Bosch, Braden Dowdy, Rob Cooper, Matt Kelly, Portland Gamecraft, Terry Ward, Captain Mark the Fourth, and Jeremy Thoman. Thanks again, everybody, and until next time, we hope you like board games.
Boing, boing, boing.
Boing.
We did it.
'22 Renegade Studios, all rights reserved, made in Jiangsu, China.
Yep. Check.
Importers, Renegade
Check.
France.
Remington was in that one.
Renegade Games LLC, Juxon House, 100 St. Paul's Churchyard, London, England.
Check.
This thing broken. What's going on here?
It's broken real good. Break it real good.
Check.
Check.
Do you need to restart?
No, I don't think so. I think that's a lot better. Check. Hello.
Check.
All right. I think that's good. There we go. All right.
It's all happy now.
I think for the most part.
I don't know. I need to